Larry Kudlow says China is America's real enemy. And I absolutely agree with him. I believe they the ones that released that Wuhan flu to try to get Trump out the way. They are the reason why we have a ridiculous trade imbalance. Companies try to go over there and try to start businesses in China and have to give their business over to the Chinese government. It's just crazy. And they are in it for the long. They are working the long game now. And it seems like for the first time ever in history, we have a president, President Trump, who's actually willing to handle the whole China situation. But I can't wait to hear Larry Kudlow's take on it. I haven't seen it yet, so we're going to watch it together. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this important information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon, and that's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. I'm just going to get right to it. Here we go.
Now, China, not Canada, is America's real enemy. That's the subject of the riff. So last night I had dinner with a bunch of Canadian CEOs, all of whom do business in the U.S., and are proud to be American allies down through the years. But they asked me why President Trump keeps talking about Canada as the 51st state, when in fact Canadians themselves are very proud of Canada's sovereignty. Now, as a strong defender of Mr. Trump's reciprocal fair trade policy, I still can't quite figure out the 51st state business. And frankly, I told those folks they'd have to ask President Trump himself. Now,
y'all know I said time and time again, I think Trump is just trolling. So that's what he does. He like picking and messing and poking with people. He know we have I think we want to make sure we have a nice trade balance with Canada, but we definitely don't want Canada as a 51st state. Like I said earlier, I think I reported on this earlier. Why would we want another leftist state like that? Why would we want another California? We don't want that.
Today in the Oval Office, Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney met with President Trump, and by all accounts, it was a very cordial meeting. Here's some of the byplay between Trump and Carney. Take a listen.
Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together.
Well, I still believe that, but you know, takes two to tango, right? But never say never. Never say never.
All right.
See, they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't understand it. Like, Trump is from Queens, man. They mess with people like that. I mean, it's funny. Like, because the prime minister kind of threw a jab at him, like, you know, and that's why he was like, well, you know, never say never, you know. That's how people talk. That's how, and they and people take it as like he's really serious, like we're really gonna go to war behind Canada. For what? For why? Come on, man.
There you have it. Canada's not for sale, according to Prime Minister Carney. And polls show by a huge margin the vast majority of Canadians agree with their new prime minister. Indeed, that issue was one of the deciding issues in the campaign that elected Mr. Carney in the first place. So I never really understood President Trump's logic constantly pursuing this 51st state business, except it may as well have been a hangover from the Justin Trudeau era, where Mr. Trump had a very strong dislike for Trudeau, and
that's what it was.
So I was there during some of the.
That's what it was. That's what started the whole 51st state thing. The whole 51st state thing is Trudeau, and Trudeau was like, wait a minute. Trump was like, wait a minute, man. We'll make you a 51st state. You keep playing around. You know what I'm saying? And like the media took it and like ran with it. So he continues to kind of poke at it. That's all it really is.
Acrimonious meetings. And we'll never forget how Trudeau held a press conference right after the G7 meeting in Canada in 2018, basically stabbed Trump in the back while the president was flying on his way to meet Xi Jinping in Singapore.
I remember that.
I sure can't blame Trump for an eternal spillover regarding Trudeau. But
Right.
stepping back from all that for a moment, I dare say Canada is not the enemy. They are a longtime partner and ally. Now, they have weaknesses. We'll get to that in just a moment. But when it comes to pouring it on, I'd like to see Mr. Trump save the vitriol for China, which is our worst enemy.
I agree.
After negotiating for 2.5 years, let's not forget this, 2.5 years, then signing the Phase 1 China trade deal, the Chinese went out
They screwed
and
us.
adhered to none of it.
Yep,
That's
they screwed
right,
us.
None of it. Especially damaging lies about their failure to stop the precursor chemicals for fentanyl that they flood us with on a constant basis. Sometimes Mr. Trump says the U.S. has a $200 billion trade deficit with Canada, but the numbers don't bear that out. Canada supplies about 1/4 of the refined oil used in America. And so if you exclude oil imports, the U.S. actually has about a $35 billion trade surplus in goods with Canada. It's a
Interesting.
rare surplus country. And
I didn't know that.
by the way, we do need their oil. At least at the moment, we need it.
Let me rewind that a little bit so I can make sure I understand this correctly. Because if that's true, I apologize for bashing Canada for the trade deficit that I thought we actually had. So let me go back and make sure I understand this correctly. I think you're saying because of our imports. Hold on, let me just let me play it again. Hear what he says.
1/4 of the refined oil used.
Let's rewind it a little bit more.
Damaging lies about their failure to stop the precursor chemicals for fentanyl that they flood us with on a constant basis. Sometimes Mr. Trump says the U.S. has a $200 billion trade deficit with Canada, but the numbers don't bear that out. Canada supplies about 1/4 of the refined oil used in America. And so if you exclude oil imports.
Okay. So they produce about 1/4. Okay, I got you. Of our refined oil. Okay.
The U.S. actually has, Canada supplies about 1/4 of the refined oil used in America. And so if you exclude oil imports, the U.S. actually has about a $35 billion trade surplus in goods with Canada. It's a rare surplus country. And by the way, we do need their oil. At least at the moment, we need it. Now, Canada's got problems with unfair banking regulations, a digital services tax on American companies, and a revenue tax on U.S. online streaming companies. And we have age-old differences on things like lumber and dairy, so I get all that. And the USMCA trade deal, well, that's going to be under review. Hopefully that review will be completed about a year from now when it's due in May 2026. So I am glad the Carney-Trump meeting was cordial and calm. Somehow, I don't think Canada is America's real enemy. And I still believe that the Ronald Reagan vision of a North American free trade zone, Canada, U.S., and Mexico, I still believe that's possible if some of the kinks and glitches can be worked out. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I just don't trust NAFTA.
China is our real enemy. And we
I agree with that.
focus on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's tonight's rip.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I don't know if that NAFTA is the solution.
Join me now.
So I do disagree with him on that. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Do y'all think China is our real enemy? Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.